Hey, Pudge, what time is it?
It's time for the Chubby Guys podcast.
Woo! Hey, here we are. We're back. Hey, the studio looks a little different today. This is the first episode without Pudge. So our guest Pudge today is going to be Matt Rosler.
What's good, guys?
Friend of the program, has already had an episode himself, had a couple, and we said, hey, Matt, how about a sit-in? And he's like, well, let's go.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, and we're going to be going, me as the pilot instead of the co-pilot. It's a little scary, but I think we can fly the plane here. We'll be just fine. And we've got a great guest. This is long awaited. It's a special guest for me because people might not know it, but Joe Finch and I are actually. Would we be second cousins, Joe?
I believe so.
Yeah, he's first cousin to
I
my mother.
remember when Chad was in diapers.
Yes.
A couple years ago.
You probably don't remember this, man, but now my son is completely eaten up with baseball all the time, and we had a birthday over at my grandparents' house there, the Stensons on Grandview, and I got a catcher's mitt and a mask for my birthday. Hey guys, try the beardedpup.com. Some of the best men's grooming products available on the market. I'll tell you, I have been a big fan of men's grooming products my entire life. And his post-shave balm is the best that I have ever used in my 48 years. Complete facial moisturizer. You can use it on your arms, face, legs, wherever you want. The cologne at thebeardedpup.com will have your wife all over you. Guys, it's real easy. Just go to thebeardedpup.com, pull out your phone. It's really easy. Very interactive website. You can get on there, order a sample pack of any different product that you may want to try. I am here to tell you, this is Chubby Chad endorsed. I think that it is the best products on the market. Beardedpup.com. Get your phone out and go see it. And you took me out in the front yard and pitched to me.
We had good times there.
Yeah, I know.
I probably went in the back and launched a rocket. Too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But anyway, we've been wanting to get Joe on here for a long time, and we're really glad to have you, Joe. And this is a guy with how many years experience in education?
42. 42
years.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And that's kind of where I thought, if it's okay with you, we might start there.
Sure.
I mean, first of all, you were born, bred in Jackson.
Born and bred in a family, educator's family.
Yes.
Just like you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And your father was a longtime superintendent, principal superintendent.
Mom was a teacher.
Yeah, your mom was a teacher.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you grow up in a school family like that, you just don't get away with anything.
No.
I don't know about your parents, but I know you just don't.
No.
You don't even. I didn't even know what bad was.
Well, no, because they're there all the time, man.
I didn't even know. Like when I finally got to junior high, to see the first bad kid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Look what he's doing. I didn't know. People could do that.
Are you allowed to do that at school?
Yeah. Grew up in an education family. So.
Absolutely. And heck, and then you also married a teacher. Who's your father-in-law, also superintendent of schools.
Yes. Absolutely. It just couldn't be, more in our blood. And I have a son and daughter.
Both teachers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Obviously, probably what led you to that profession is growing up in Jackson, son of two educators. And did you know before you went to school that was what you wanted to do?
I did not. As a matter of fact, I remember going around saying, the last thing I want to do is be a teacher.
Okay.
In those rebellious years. Actually spent the first year at OU, like a lot of people, undecided.
Okay.
Went to OU Athens, and then just kind of, looked around. I knew I didn't. There were some guys in our dorm that were going to be dentists, and the guy's going to be a doctor, and they were all in the pre-med stuff. And I looked at that, and I thought, no. If it involves math, it does not involve me.
Okay,
I understand. I understand.
All there is to it. Not a math person.
Yeah.
And so just gravitated toward education and being an English teacher, and picked up a little science, which paid off because I ended up turning out to be just a general science teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And if I remember right, man, as a kid, was there a drum set in your house?
Yeah.
I mean, you used to like to get down on the drums.
I did.
Bit.
I played drums in band. I was a band guy.
Yeah. Well, so Rozzie's son is a drummer.
And he's, loves
Yeah.
the drums.
Yeah.
I was never any kind of athlete. Well, I played 7th grade basketball. I rode the pine for a year, and I never was much of an athlete. But I got into band and I got into drums.
Yeah,
and I played, and then actually, this is really embarrassing. Little known fact: in college, I was in a garage band.
Oh, nice,
nice. Yes.
What was it called?
It was called. I mean, what we called it, or what other people called it. I think Richard Lewis was in the band. I remember. And he had a poster of a drag strip racer on his wall, and it was called the Utica Flash. And we had our first gig, and we didn't have a name yet. And he just pointed to that and said, "That's our name, Utica Flash."
Utica Flash.
That was it. It meant nothing.
Okay.
Utica Flash. Who are your influences?
A lot of like Doobie Brothers and just stuff from the 70s. You know, we were really bad.
But you tried.
We tried. We had more fun.
Yeah, I was going to say. I bet the practices
the boys
were
in the band. Oh yeah. What practice?
Yeah.
That was the second gig.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was the second. Yeah, it was just fun. But those were the days. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's cool though. I mean, so that would have been in the 70s, right? I'm not trying to give away your age.
Yes.
Yeah.
I graduated from Jackson High School in 1974. So
okay.
College was from 74 to 78. Yeah.
Okay.
Wild times at OU. Those
oh
years.
my
I've heard
goodness.
that rumor before.
Yeah. Yeah. They had just got over all the late 60s riots, and you heard all about that when you were still there. And it was just a crazy.
You might have been at OU, Joe, at the time. We had Stephen Michael on the show. And he got a job where his role was to bring and host like bands that had concerts at OU.
Yeah,
and it was amazing.
That's cool.
Some of the bands that played over there.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Beach Boys and Convo, and I saw the Pure Prairie League played in Mim Odd, where you're real close to them.
Oh man,
yeah, that's a hell of a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
some of the bands that have.
I know that I've been at Ohio. Didn't you take that dive?
One of those weird afternoons when you don't have anything to do, rainy Sunday, and got to Google, and I was like, "Well, I'll be damned."
Yeah,
they've played there, and they've played there. Yeah. I wonder what that was like.
Yeah.
You can drive. I always say I can drive down Court Street to this day, and I'll spot somebody that I swear was there when I was in college. Same hair, really long hair.
Though, now seriously, that is not a myth in my opinion. There are a lot of people that go to school there.
Yeah.
And they stay.
Yeah.
I mean, they just kind of stay. Yeah. And I mean,
one of my best friends is still delivering pies in Portsmouth, Ohio. We met in the fall of '94 and still delivering pies today.
Well, there you go, man. And probably still enjoying life,
and
man.
Loving life.
Yeah.
Happy dude.
But anyway, Joe, so you start your career in Coalton.
Yes,
you were telling us
Coalton, Ohio. Coalton, Ohio.
And do you mind sharing with how that went down? Because you even went to the place where maybe you weren't going to be a teacher.
Yeah, I'd kind of made up my mind I was going to be a state highway worker because that's what I did in college in the summers, and which was a great job.
Yeah.
It was just riding around in trucks with all your buddies.
Oh, yeah, man.
And I liked it, too, because there were people from Rio that I met that still know to this day and on that crew and so forth. And I'd pretty much had just given up, on getting a teacher. Got to be August there. And Wellston they called me up from the bullpen. I don't know whether there was some kind of mass casualty of all the teachers they had hired, and tragedy of some sort, but they got down, to the farm team, and they called me in, and I took the job, and Coalton was a nice little school, and there were actually cows right on the edge of the playground there. You could I would be on playground duty, lunch duty, and you could pet cows that would come up.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just it was just
that's
right.
a neat experience, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not something that everybody gets to see.
Right, not at all.
What was it like? I mean, how was your first year in education, man? A lot of people seem to have good stories about their maiden voyage.
It was rough. I mean, the staff. I became friends with them. They helped me out a lot. I remember the very first day of school. I can remember this. I bought this tie, and I was all dressed up and everything. And again, it was very casual there. And they said, we don't budget cuts. There's no gym teacher, so your language arts, but your homeroom has to have gym twice a week. And guess what? First day of school, you have gym,
and you got your tie.
And then I had that tie on, and so. I found in the back of the room one of those red playground balls.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, everybody knows, they had nice ball fields there. Everybody knows how to play kickball.
Absolutely.
So we divided up, and I was going out there reading the rules, and kids thought I knew what I was doing,
Yeah, well, yeah.
They thought this guy in a tie out there in a baseball field, and I had sat that ball behind me. I dug it out of that closet. You know what I mean by those old red,
absolutely.
dark red
They make a very specific sound when kicked.
Right.
Great dodgeball, too.
Yeah, yeah.
They make a specific sound when you trip over it. Backwards. And I can remember laying in that field, looking straight up at the sky, wearing that tie, thinking, what have I got into? It's all in slow motion. And the kids are like walking up real slow, looking, are you okay? And I jumped up and said, okay, here we go, first pitch.
Blew it off like it never happened. Pro move, sir.
And, those were memorable years at Coalton School.
Yeah. Well, that's
the play's
awesome.
not there anymore. I hate to see it when they tore it down.
Yeah. Well, that is definitely a cool place to start. But your career evolved into the science classroom and then into guidance counseling, which I think is really interesting. I had a firsthand experience. You helped Helena a lot in her college searches and things like that.
She didn't need much help.
But I mean, the thing is, though, I think there's an art to that. And I know you and I had a conversation one day out there in the middle of the street about maybe some misconceptions about, hey, when you're making that choice, what are maybe some other things you need to think about other than, hey, man, I want to live in L.A. and go to school or something like that?
Well, it would be nice if you could just do that, and say, I want to go there. It all depends on what you want to be, too. Now, like we're teachers, so, I wouldn't say, go to an Ivy League school to be a teacher. I just wouldn't do that. I'd say, go local here. OU Chillicothe, Rio, those are two good places to train to be a teacher. If that's sincerely what you want to do, I would put them up against any place,
Right. Well, and I think, isn't it, as part of your point on that, what it looks like coming out as far as debt and debt service and things of that nature, and scholarship opportunities probably. And,
you want to come out with as little student debt as possible. I always told the kids, if you have to have debt, that's fine. It's money well spent. You're never going to borrow money for anything more important in your life than that. That give, and try to minimize it as much as possible, and get your most bang for your buck. Especially again, nursing would be another one that would come to mind around here, where we've got good nurse training around in this area, and I wouldn't go to out on the West Coast just to learn to be a nurse, with
when
all that, accumulate
here.
all that debt and so forth. I just wouldn't do that, But some things, it's great. A unique experience this past winter. I worked. I don't know whether I told you this or not. I worked for Ohio State, and as a seasonal application reviewer, and did that from home. It was a nice little part-time job from home.
Yeah.
And boy, did I learn a lot about college admissions just by just literally hundreds of applications, hundreds and hundreds that I had to go through all last winter and judge them as to whether they get in Ohio State or not, give a recommendation.
Well,
Really,
and applications to college have changed since we were doing that. Like, I was amazed. Like when Helena was doing this, like there were essays and stuff like that. Is that the kind of thing you were reviewing?
The Common App, yes. So that whenever I would open up a file every Tuesday morning, they download a file, and it started out only 80 applications a week, and they ended up with 150. It got there near the end of February. It got 150 applications a week, and you really had to budget your time out to give them. You wanted to read every word of every one. And
right.
Essays and transcripts would all open up for each student. They had it down to a science.
Now, not only were you getting you weren't just getting them from the United States, you were getting them from everywhere, right?
Yeah, they were from everywhere. The ones I saw did have U.S. citizenship, but they may have been living at the time with their family, all over. It was very interesting and learned a lot.
Were a lot of the essays they would send similar at all, or was everyone just like a fingerprint?
Some were. They were. A lot of them were very heart-rending because of what the pandemic did to families, and just. You hear that it was hard on kids, the isolation and stuff, but to see it in their essays, it was just heart-rending, and you saw, it took that for me to realize what had happened to kids during all that being away from each other, and then they lost family members to COVID, which compounded the problem. And so a lot of them were, like that. Some of the kids are just amazing what high school kids can do now. They start their own charities.
Well, it's amazing. Yeah. We've had a few guests on the show that are seniors or recently graduated. Mind blowing. I mean, one young man, Grant Maston, he wouldn't care if I mentioned his name. That gentleman has done more now than what I've done.
He would be a good example.
49 years.
Grant would be a good
amazing.
Yeah.
When I went to college, you just sort of picked where you wanted to go around. If you were a Buckeye fan, you signed up to go to Ohio State. If you wanted to stay a little closer to home, you went to OU.
Yeah.
I remember taking an ACT, and to this day, I do not know what I got on it.
Right.
I don't know whether they mailed it to my parents or what. I just got a letter that I was in,
and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah,
it was just so simple. That was it. Yeah. Now, last year we had 72,000 applicants for this fall at Ohio State. 72,000.
Wow.
So I was part of a small army of people.
And how many then do they accept, Joe?
Well, I think it varies, but you're talking well under 10,000. To get in here.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that is, and and I'm sure they are there basic standards like before you even get the application to review that they've had to meet?
Well, that this made the job hard. Another fallout of the pandemic was the decline of using test scores like ACT. That's optional now. So just a couple of years ago, you had sort of a cutoff in mind with Ohio State.
Sure.
And that cutoff got higher every year. And now with test optional, the kids can just say, even if they took it, they can just say, I don't want that being revealed, and I want my application staying on its own merits and my essay and all that and the things I've done. So there were a lot of kids that got in without an ACT, and I will say just the opposite. There was kids with pretty good ACTs that didn't get in because of the ones that did so well. Like I said, there's kids that run their own charities, and they're in every kind of extracurricular activity.
What are the main factors now? Because it sounds like there's been a little switch. Obviously their transcript plays,
yes,
right?
The transcript is being a retired guidance counselor. I looked at that first. That's the first thing I looked at. Now, not all the people were, some people were just people with college degrees. They were not, but I knew how to read that and what it meant to me. So I looked for, a lot of AP courses. Okay. First thing I checked was what the school offered, because you don't want to hold somebody against it
if their school didn't have it.
Offer. Yeah. Some of these bigger schools had 20 and 30 AP courses offered. And so then you see what they take, and their grades, their GPA. Yeah. And they gave us rough cutoffs, very, very just a range, to look at. It was a rubric that you had by your side on laminated paper the whole time. You had a rubric right there.
Yeah.
And then you switch to their essay and you look at all their school activities are all listed there. And it's just a very holistic approach. And then what's interesting is with Ohio State, I don't know whether other schools do this or not, but every application was looked at by me and some unknown other person.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you had to have two thumbs
and
up.
if we rated it the same,
sure.
they were in. They were recommended to be in.
Yeah.
If there was a difference, it went to a third unknown person to see if they would break the tie on that. So it's pretty thorough.
Wow.
And then for all of them, we had the right to defer them to wait list into March.
Okay.
So what they do is that come March, if there's openings, then they go to that list and start going down that list.
Well, with could you even identify like what was the heaviest weighted thing on there? Or
they were all pretty between grades and school activities and the things they talked about in their essay. And if they had an ACT score, they were all pretty much weighted together. They were,
and like you could maybe let's say your grades were decent but not as strong, but your essay was awesome.
Yeah,
like that could help you.
Sure
like
could.
Okay,
sure could.
Okay.
And I saw some weak essays too. I saw one where a girl described on how to braid your hair.
Oh,
that was the essay.
That's not going to get you nowhere.
I thought, poor girl. Does she know?
I'll be a Buckeye.
Yeah. Does she know a totally bald guy is reviewing her application? She didn't have a chance.
Well,
Just some mind blowers, though. I mean, you had to read thousands. There were some mind blowing.
Just some were. They were hard to read. Like I said, not only had they had stress and isolation from COVID, and then they lost family members, and then they had to move and things like that. Now, I throughout the whole thing, I wondered what it'd be like if COVID hadn't occurred. What
Sure.
some of the essays would But again, there was ones you said like Grant that they did their own charities and their own community service that they came up with themselves, and it was amazing.
Some jump off the page as being impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I would wonder. I mean, I look back to myself when I was that age, man. I'm wondering. Would I have really had the discipline to sit down and really put the time into doing a good essay, or would I have just wanted to get it done?
Well, I always joke that I'm glad they didn't have AP courses when I was in high school. They had invented a lot of things yet, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's time consuming and I mean the essay is very important. I mean, so and it's good to hear that like it's every word of it's being read.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure. Yeah, it took a lot of time.
Probably 2 sets of eyes.
I appreciate that. That's that's a class thing to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to hand it to Ohio State. It was first class all the way. The training they gave us, extensive training before we started.
Did they tell you like specific things to look for in the essay?
And we had practice ones. We had ones that were from the previous years. Okay. And they got pulled up and had us evaluate them in training and practice and so forth.
Okay. So that's some absolute, no, that's not going. That's in the scrap pile.
Yeah, they would load up ones, and then we would have Zoom discussion on them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So all this thing was all from your house?
All from my house, right there on the easy chair. Oh, yeah, man. Right there on the easy chair. Usually with one of our cats.
Boy, there's been a new way to work, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt about it, man. That's changed everything.
Yeah. And I wonder how they did that before Zoom, because I would have had to go on to monthly meetings in Columbus. I'm going to assume that as little as just 8 or 10 years ago, they sat around at big tables up there with these paper applications.
They probably did, because everything was paper,
smoke-filled rooms, as they say.
Oh yeah, probably so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that had to be an interesting experience. Are you going to do that again?
Well, you have to apply again, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know yet.
Would you like to do it again?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to have a little baby in our house.
Yeah.
If I do that, I'm going to have to make a little office somewhere. Because right there in the living room, probably, I really had to concentrate. I couldn't have TV on or anything all those hours. I would have to.
I'll tell you, it kills me in the summer. Like, I work from home all the time. And, and it's smooth during school, but boy, in the summer.
In the summer, I bet it's hard.
And my kids are a little older, but and they don't mean anything by it. But like, if I'm on a call, it's like it eats them up. They've just got to see who I'm talking to on that Zoom, or like if I saw that, like I see one of them. It's one of those things where, like, I was telling Pudge the other day, I might have to come up here and take some calls from the bar, just set up here where it's quiet.
But I would miss hearing you on your phone calls.
Oh yeah, I would miss that. That's what I generally go outside.
Yeah, I can hear him from our house.
Oh, right on.
I live 3 miles down the road.
Yeah, right. Actually, probably only 300-400 feet, but but no, man. I mean, it's a whole new way of working. But and it's interesting. Education, I mean, went through a complete change. Which, I mean, they were doing online school and things like that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But man, when we started the remote learning during COVID, I mean, with all the Zoom and the virtual classrooms, and I mean, it really changed the game.
It did.
It sure did.
Do you think that any of that is here to stay, Joe?
I think probably if you can think of something positive from it, I think they tweaked and improved those components of online learning, and so kids that need to do it for remedial work and so forth, the software is now all in the schools. That helped, I think. It was because when I was there, that was something that everyone struggled with: good software for remedial type courses. Credit recovery.
Are you a fan of online schooling?
It's good and it's bad. For some kids, that just can't get to school or for whatever reason don't fit in, it's a lifesaver for them.
That's what I mean. Like when you're dealing with a kid that maybe, I don't know, they're getting bullied, or Matt, you teach SBH classes. I'm sure you've got some guys that really struggle socially.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's a good thing, or is it hard? The thing I would worry about, it seems to me like it's really hard to get that one-on-one engagement.
That's what scares me.
And your son teaches virtually.
He teaches online. Yes. And then, here, the winter before last, when COVID was really bad, we had our grandson over there at the house, and Jack, and we were his second year of preschool. Now, he's lucky enough to have two teachers.
Right.
So he had a desk and he had lessons.
Yeah, you guys actually
would sit down.
Took some time.
But then, what a big revelation it was when he went to kindergarten and had his first recess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's coming home talking about, doing this and doing that, and he didn't get to do that. He missed recess there. I mean, he had it during the first year of preschool, and then he missed it all. He didn't get to play.
Well, I mean, I really think the social stuff is important.
Oh, it is.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it is.
And it's tough.
Yeah, it was a time when nobody knew what to do. We had to safeguard lives, and we just didn't know. And but
I think we did a good job of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think all the schools around here did a good job. I mean, to your point, there was no other choice.
Right.
I mean, it was you couldn't go. So.
Yeah, let's just hope that doesn't happen again.
Oh my goodness!
Ever
again.
Yeah. Right.
So I guess if I'm hearing you right, like you're a fan of online schooling in specific cases, but not for the whole mass population.
Right. And I've seen it make a difference. Even kids that were not going to graduate last minute get an online course that they had failed. Second chance there last minute and get their diploma.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah,
man.
It definitely saved a lot of kids. In my area for sure.
Yeah, but it did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but so talk a little bit about, Joe. All right, 42 years in education. Could you name a few of the major things that changed over that time?
Well, when we started. The copy. I remember making copies at the copy machine. You had that weird white and purple thing that smelled
wonderful.
And you would write out stuff on that, and then you go down to the hall of the teacher's lounge, and you'd fit that in there and close that clamp. And you turn that crank, it was like it was like a farm machine or something. And you'd shoot those papers out, and then when you pass them out to the students, inevitably they all stuck them up. It was that cold alcohol. The whole class was like that.
A few of them have a blue mark on their nose or something.
Thank goodness the SBH unit didn't have that. Right?
Right.
That probably would have worked out.
That could have been a fun class.
you had just chalkboards. You know?
Oh, yeah,
you had
yeah.
kids with dusty erasers and
Chalk all
all over your
Yeah.
and it was just as simple as can be still then. As gradually then computers started slowly. It took a long time though, really, when you look at it. It took before computers were really used. And here our grandson, he came home with a computer here at the end of the year, his own from school.
Oh, yeah.
And Chromebook.
Yeah,
And
my kids are
first
better
grade,
on
getting
them.
ready for first
They're
grade.
all better on them than what we are.
Oh,
man.
I depend on
it's
my
part
kids.
of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they've come up with that,
Right.
And it's amazing.
Right.
The difference.
So there's that was a big change and just little things and little basic classroom though throughout my I taught straight 17 years before I became a counselor, so the classroom really wasn't all that much different.
Right. Yeah.
I've heard stories about back in the days that classrooms themselves, the number of kids were way bigger because there was just
Really?
more kids in school. Oh, my
Back then.
goodness. Yeah, well, yeah. It would have been, I've heard stories like when Mrs. Coyne, my mother-in-law, taught,
Oh, yeah.
having 40 kids in first grade.
Oh yeah, in the elementary schools, those classes were huge.
Yeah, that was common. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you might have a science class or a period with 30 kids in it, right?
It peaked out about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. There were just more school age kids back then.
And what is your take? I mean, here's the big one, and we've talked about this on the show before in different sports and kids teaching. Like, how have the kids changed? I mean, you had to see a difference, right? Or is they're pretty much the same?
If I had to pick one, I'd say pretty much the same.
Is that right? Is that right? That's cool. You're the first one that I've heard say it. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
Kids were good back then. Kids are good now.
Yeah.
Kids, I think a lot of high school kids are more stressed out now than I know when I was in high school. I don't know
You
what
weren't
stress
stressed
was.
Not at all.
Stress was studying on Friday morning, sitting on the wall in front of Jackson High School.
Yeah.
My vocabulary words and spelling words. That was
right.
stress because I'd put it off till then.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I don't think I did anything at home.
To really get somewhere, like we talked about college admissions
Oh,
now, there's
yeah.
a lot
Oh, my
more stress
goodness.
on
Yeah.
kids. But,
Exactly.
as far as kids, you want to say differences in maturity, but, there were kids that when I was in school with that went home and worked on a farm, and they had done that since early elementary, and every night they did that, and every weekend and every summer worked on the farm, and they were mature. Instead of working at McDonald's, that's where they worked. So I don't see a lot of basic differences.
Well, I like the way you said it. Like there were good kids.
There's good kids
and there's
then,
good
and
kids
good kids
now.
now.
And I think a lot of times people like to dunk on this generation, like oh man,
Absolutely.
they're lazy or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I don't see that.
Not as mentally tough.
I mean,
Kids aren't as tough these days.
I personally don't see that, man. I think that they're smart, they're bright,
They are.
they're thinkers, man.
And a lot of them they're very polite.
Yeah.
Kids anymore are just so so polite. The high school kids you work with, and I've heard people say subbing. I've talked to people who were never teachers that are subbing now.
Yeah.
And they're taken back. They were all like, I don't
here
know
we
if it is
go.
or not, And they're taken back by how good the kids are.
Really?
Yes. I've talked to several people like that, and they enjoy subbing. And it was not even on their agenda ever. They did, they retired from another career.
Yeah, and it's not like a situation where it's the kids versus the sub anymore.
Right.
Like they're all kind of in it together, man.
I did a little bit of subbing this past year, and one of the big differences, of course, with computers, the teacher posts the assignment when they're going to be gone. Teachers, they don't want the kids falling behind. They take a lot of ownership, so they post up in the Google Classroom what the assignment is the night before.
Right.
Well, I would come into a classroom and kids would look, got a sub, and they would flip those Chromebooks open and they'd be on that assignment. You didn't have to say anything to them. You just had to figure out who was absent, and basically that was it. And some of them already would have it done.
Now, was it hard for you as being a former teacher? Like you probably maybe wanted to jump in there and help or teach a
It
lesson.
was hard.
Or whatever.
It was. Yeah, it was kind of, to be honest, it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, that engagement.
Yeah.
That engagement's not there.
Right,
That adult
yeah.
child relationship, building that
I wanted
rapport.
to somehow figure out what the subject, as long as it wasn't math.
Yeah. Then you're like, hey, go crazy on the Google Classroom there.
No, wouldn't touch math, but I kind of wanted to, teach them a little bit and stuff, and they're just
Tell them stories.
yeah.
Some of the best
That's
parts
awesome.
about education, just giving them your experiences and telling
Right.
them amazing stories that you've had in life.
Yeah. That was interesting, their response to a sub, because back when I was in school, that was not the response. Substitute teacher, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was a holiday.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let the games begin.
Yes. Oh my goodness, especially middle school. Those-
Oh yeah,
those
I'll
were-
tell you. I think it takes a special person to teach at that level.
It does.
And you've done it for a long time.
I love
you
that
like that
grade.
level. See,
I
I think it's all those kids. I mean, they're going through massive changes in their life, their body. They all look ugly. They stink. I mean, it's just, and they're such social animals at that time, trying to impress everybody else.
Sponges,
And
man.
as a teacher, you're like, oh boy, yeah.
They're not so much
I think
sponges
you got to
as-
have a lot of patience.
They're not-
One thing I can say about middle school kids, like they have not seen it all like high school kids, so they're easily impressed with things.
Oh,
They're
okay.
like science. They're you might do something for high school kids. Said, yeah, we did that. Another year, and
they've seen it before.
yeah, the middle school kids, it's all new, and they're really excited.
Yeah,
and and some of those subs I was talking about were at the middle school, not the high school. The ones that said the kids were just so good and.
Man, that's. I mean, my
Yeah.
my dad did it for a while.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
Right.
He was like, man, I love subbing.
Right.
It makes me feel like. But he made that comment. He's like, it's almost too easy to be a sub anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's probably district depending. I bet.
Well,
I wonder.
and he also, like, as soon as he retired, he did the online teaching for, gee whiz, I bet about 8 years.
Yeah,
With
that's
Ohio
right, he did.
Virtual Academy. And he had a lot of kids that were like traveling the world. They're violinists or tennis players or something.
Right. That's
and,
common.
And I mean, now that's probably changed, but at that time, it was, I just, education is something that's ever changing. And I like your take though, Joe. You don't think the kids have really changed that much.
Not that much. I don't think so. And I want to say there were good kids all through the years, and there's still good kids.
Yeah.
Still good.
Yeah.
Plenty of them.
I
That
think
is an awesome take. And it's refreshing because, man, you don't hear that
man,
much.
you hear a
And
lot
even
of people.
Yeah, like I'm a little jaded sometimes. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then when I think back to my teachers growing up and my old coaches, well, back in my day, we could blah, 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 blah. We could do this and that. And you guys couldn't handle that now.
But you look back and they could, dude.
Yeah, they could.
The kids are the same.
And I tell the same stories. Well, you guys couldn't handle my high school coach.
Yeah. And it's all really the same. So, hey, you guys want to take a little break?
Sure.
Anything else we want to talk about with schools? If so, we can jump back in here. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I got one. I definitely want to hear about the guidance for sure. Like how that went. Where you got started
Sure.
there.
Does anybody have to
I'm good.
take?
I'm good.
Well, let's go, man.
Okay.
Ask your question.
When are we going to get to
brother.
mountain biking?
Well, that's going to be the second segment. That's going to be the second segment.
I can tell you, with guidance, my question is just rule like, I don't know. I knew two types of guidance counselors. It seemed like there was the one that was, you broke up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Come on to the office, let's talk about it. And then there was the guidance counselor that, hey Matt, this isn't looking too good. You need to jump up here. You need to do this if you want to go to college. And you better shift gears, sunshine. So my experience is those two types of guidance counselors.
I've had to wear all those hats, and again, I was middle school guidance for a long time. So in middle school, you're dealing with. It's funny, those kids. It's more of. It's kind of like the kids in the back seat on a car trip. He pinched me.
Oh, yeah.
She keeps staring at me in class. You don't worry about those issues when you go home at night.
Yeah, right.
That kind of, you get a lot of that. You get a lot of that stuff.
Are we there yet?
It's very disruptive in the school.
Oh, very disruptive.
Very disruptive.
Yeah.
And then, as you move up into the high school kids, you get into a lot more serious things and then, what they're going to do. And But it was interesting going through the whole thing. You know, through both were good jobs. I don't know whether you had to know more technical stuff in high school. I remember it was tough learning about scholarships and colleges, you know, getting up to speed with all that. More so than what you dealt with, you know, in middle school, you're dealing with a lot of mental health, more so, and dealing with, you know, working with families and agencies.
See, that's a whole. Yeah. I mean, you really got to wear some different hats.
Yeah.
One minute you're trying to work on helping somebody get a scholarship or get accepted. Next minute you're talking about somebody that's really struggling,
homeless, depression, or you know, abuse.
That kind of stuff I think is pretty much an all-time high right now.
There's no question. No question.
Kids. Really, really tough on kids these times, and I don't envy, you know, the counselors that are there now. They got their hands full.
Joe, when you're dealing with like let's say a mental health issue, we'll just keep it at 31,000 feet there. Like, how far do you take that before you refer to?
Usually I would, you know, I'd have my contacts and real quick. And lots of times, you know, it's right there in the building. You have support, mental health support right there, and they have certain hours that come to the building, and they can see kids.
Counseling,
mental health counselors that you could refer right then, and they're allowed to see kids so many times before parental contact and permission, and it's set up like that.
Now, when did that come about?
I had that since both school districts, since I was in high school, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was a high school counselor. So we're talking probably mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s.
Yes.
And would it be, do they just come there like periodically? Or?
Different schools, different things. Some are on call. Some of them have regular times they come. Some of them spend more time in one building, you got to call them to come to yours. And
so that's really good, man, because you might have kids that would not otherwise have access or you know, or something like that where you can get them access while they're at school.
Yeah, they can't have enough of those people.
Alexander has three different companies, right? Agencies in their facility in the district.
Right. Yeah, those are super important now. And yet the school counselors still deal with, you know, that everybody's overwhelmed.
Well, do the school counselors handle, you know, that to a certain point?
Yes, up to a certain point.
Refer, or
up to a certain point, and then you got to, you know, make your referral, because I know as a counselor, I always told the kids, I'm not going to pretend I'm a therapist.
Right.
You know, I'm a trained school counselor, and I would, you know, talk to them and you know, assess the problem, gather information, almost like an intake person.
Sure.
And then refer them to, if they needed referred.
Right.
Some, not all do, but some did, and greatly helped by that too.
Yeah. Depending on the buzzwords.
Yes.
What they said. Yeah.
Sure.
Well.
Yeah.
That's that is one of the things. I mean, you know, you made the comment. It feels like kids these days are maybe under a little more pressure.
I think they are.
And then, you know, you throw in the pandemic from a couple of years ago, and that kind of turned everybody upside down.
Sure.
And you know, I think it's a hugely important job. I mean, to be able to, when a kid comes in your office, to be able to recognize, okay, I need to refer this. Yeah. Or maybe we can handle this, or you know,
maybe we can keep us in house. Or I heard what you said there. We're gonna go this direction. Let me make this phone call for you and get you somebody to talk to, brother.
Yeah. Sure. Do you think, Joe, that the kids are aware that they can go talk to the guidance counselors?
I think so. Everywhere I was, I think that was yeah. And they have a different role now. Like when I was in high school, the guidance. I don't think that's even the role of guidance counselors.
No, they were just making the schedules and
I don't recall.
Almost like academic counseling and stuff.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody ever didn't know anybody that did that.
Right.
You know, as a matter of fact, I don't think I ever went to the guidance counselor. We did scheduling. It was a mass thing in like the in the auditorium.
Right.
You had so few tracks and choices.
It wasn't real hard to, but like now I would assume, like, is the guidance office an open door?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, most definitely.
And then, okay, so then let's transition. Like if you're working with them on, okay, a kid comes and says, hey, I want to go to college. You know, then do you meet with them individually?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
you schedule an appointment to kind of go
absolutely.
through, you know.
Oh, yeah. You spend a lot of time doing that.
Do you think that Joe, that our trade schools and things like that are underutilized?
They have been in the past, and I think they're kind of, that's kind of coming around,
back a little bit.
coming around
Good
now
deal.
a lot. Yeah, I definitely think so.
I remember I graduated in '94, man, and the emphasis was, man, you've got to go to college to get a great job.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not going, you're not going to make a certain amount of money. You got to do this. So
Yeah.
end up going to college, and I could have probably been better suited doing something else maybe, but it was just
Yeah, they've added so many programs.
Oh, man,
that those kids can do and continue after they get out of vocational school.
Oh, yeah.
and continue on.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely so.
working on your
Definitely so.
apprenticeship at a young age, and
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. That's important. You don't want to force kids to go to college, and
Well, your success rate's not going to be very high.
they come out with student debt, and they didn't even want to do it.
Yeah, right.
That's-
Yeah, right.
You don't
right,
want
right.
to put them in that.
but they had
situation.
fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they probably
you had a
did.
good time.
Probably did. All right, let's take a little break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to get into cycling, fitness, stuff like that.
All right.
All right,
Sounds
take a break.
good.